Hey there, everyone. I hope you're doing well. We're in a really weird situation for whoever is following and paying attention to this channel. I live in Western North Carolina, and it's a really sad situation. This channel is pretty much going to turn into triage and mental health first aid. I'll be uploading yoga videos so that I can link them out for free to people who need them, and just try to be a beacon of light and hope for people that are suffering. Whatever you're seeing on the news is not an accurate depiction of what's really happening here. It is sad. It is horrifying. It is frustrating. It is unfathomable. It's unfathomable. I haven't even seen half of it. I've not even seen 3/4 of it. I have people doing immense groundwork. I was supposed to be a trekker to backpack in supplies because they wanted strong hikers and people that could carry a lot of weight on their back, and kind of put the kibosh on that because search and rescue doesn't want us putting our lives in danger. They want you to be affiliated with a legit organization versus just a regular citizen jumping in to try to help, which I understand. But at the end of the day, there's hundreds stuck and stranded. I would like to shed some light on this. And this is like, my job is in Asheville. I lived in Asheville for 6 months. I'm not knocking Asheville. I'm not saying Asheville doesn't need help. I'm not saying there's not immense devastation in Asheville. It's half gone. It's like half underwater. They definitely need help and resources, but they're getting them. And like I was saying to someone else who's kind of famous and not using his platform to bring attention to what actually needs to be done, there is a large pie. Western North Carolina is a large pie, and Asheville is one slice. So you have very remote towns, and that's where most of the people are stuck and stranded. And a lot of devastation is in these more backcountry remote areas, and no one's hearing about them. So that's very frustrating for me, because I have people that are friends that work EMS and search and rescue. And then I have friends that are telling me that because they're not getting help, community members are the one doing all the work. So, hillbillies have a reputation, right? Those Southern hillbillies. Well, I would like to go on record as saying that they are the unsung heroes right now, because as much as they get mocked, they're the ones with the chainsaws and the farm equipment, and they have the capabilities to go in and cut down trees and remove debris. People are literally driving in on their personal ATVs to rescue people. I'm being told there's a lot of carnage, and that's not really being discussed. There are thousands of people missing. And I know for a fact that this isn't what's being depicted on the news. I'm hearing things, I will say right now it's rumor, but too many people throughout Western North Carolina are having the same experiences where help is completely being turned away. And there's a gentleman on Facebook, and his video went viral. I can link it in the comments, and he's infuriated because he wants to bring a helicopter in. People are now being told they'll be arrested if they try to make any attempts to bring in supplies and to try to rescue via helicopter. So, it's interesting when you hear stories about people being in dire need of help, and then you have all of these outside resources, and then the inside resources are saying no. To me, it's not logical. I understand the strategy. I understand that things have to be done in steps, but this is life or death. And FEMA is nowhere to be found except in Asheville. And they might be in Boone. Boone is another place that had a lot of devastation. I'm actually going to go volunteer there. And they have resources. they have a lot of people helping them. So I can list some towns that are really hurting. I could tell you that my friend lives in the Fairview, Swannanoa area, which is completely underwater. I know Canton and Candler is struggling, Old Fort, Burnsville, Black Mountain, Montreat. I am going to Marion next Sunday to volunteer at a mobile kitchen all day. Marion's very close to Lake James. That whole lake, overflowed. Flooding everywhere. Saluda is half underwater. Chimney Rock is gone. Lake Lure is a mess. The Tryon area got hit hard. So there's I think, what is it? Forest City is out there. I think they're struggling. Again, no one's talking about these places at all. The safest places to be were, I'm pretty sure, the Raleigh, Charlotte area. For people who are watching this and are local to me, I urge you to stop panicking about food and gas. Stop filling up 8 million containers of gas. There are people who cannot get gas because of that happening. We're being rationed basically to $20 per fill, and we do not have a gas shortage. We don't. We're not out of gas and we're not out of food. It's everybody going out and depleting resources. Everyone who had cash on hand and was able to get to food stores wiped everything out. So by the time people like me got there, and I was over prepared. I fully anticipated that this was large scale. I fully anticipated that we were going to get our asses handed to us. Partially the research I did, partially in intuition, another part just following really, really good on the ball weather people. And I forgot one hard fast rule, and I forgot cash, which is not like me, but I was in a new home. I'd only been here for 3 weeks and I had a lot to think about. I was here alone. My roommate ended up leaving me. He did come back at 12:30 at night, but his garage started overflowing. Thankfully, I've been safe the whole time. My poor kids thought I was dead because of the way the news at that time was portraying everything. And rightfully so. At that point, things were a mess and it was hard to siphon things out. I did get an SOS out on my Zoleo beacon. So if you've ever wondered if that stuff works, if you think that you need to be a camper, backpacker, hiker for that, absolutely not. I can't tell you how many people were using their Zoleos, their Garmin InReaches, or SOSs on their iPhone and able to get in touch with loved ones. I did not know my SOS went out, but thankfully 24 hours before I was actually able to communicate with my daughters, they knew by then I was safe. I didn't know they knew, but they knew. I literally just got my daughter's response to that SOS today, days later. We never lost power. We did for a blip. I've always had water and power, so I've been driving to Asheville, picking up friends, bringing them here, letting them shower, offering to use my washer and dryer. I almost feel spoiled. And guilty. You do to an extent feel guilty when you know how much other people are struggling. So I've been very fortunate, but I also am a person that will offer up those resources. I'm not greedy or stingy. And I will say, for the most part, I'm seeing people gather in fellowship, really helping out their community members. Yesterday, I was able to sync up with a lovely woman that is about 5-minute drive for me in Brevard, and we were handing out bananas. Engels gave her a huge boatload of free bananas, and she's like, I don't know what to do with all of this. So we were just handing out bananas door to door, and then we went to go support her friends. Her neighbor owns a prominent restaurant here, and that restaurant is giving out free meals to anyone who comes in. I witnessed it. So many people were coming in, homeless people at the Haven House. I can't afford a meal. We heard we're giving it out free food. And these entrees are $30, $40, $50 entrees. And they're letting them order whatever they want off the menu. So I'm seeing so many people coming together and really joining as a community and being a unified force. I've heard some horror stories. That's going to happen. I know my mental health first aid training and all my trauma informed training, people usually go one of two ways. There's really no middle ground. You either crisis brings out the very best in you or brings out the very worst in you. So an example of that, I was able to laugh it off. The woman whose home this happened in front of was mortified. I walk on the street early in the morning in the dark. It's a force of habit because there wasn't always sidewalks being brought up in the north, so you would just walk in the street. Mind you, I was hugging the curb, but there was a sidewalk. And the girl rolled down her window and kept driving, F-bombs flying, telling me off, screaming at the top of her lungs. It's like 6:30 in the morning. The neighborhood's black. Everyone's sleeping. This woman happened to be walking her dogs. And I looked at the woman and I laughed and I said, out of everything that's happening right now, that really bothered her. Like, she really had a pitch about that. And I said to the woman, I'm sorry that you had to, get the brunt of that. Like, you couldn't help but not hear it and be affected. And I said, I'm so sorry you had to be involved in that. I said, I hope you have the best day possible. And she goes, I think you should go tell that girl you hope she has the best day possible. We just started laughing. So there are people who are very testy. I've heard that there's been some all-out fights breaking out at gas stations. Again, please, if you're in this area, stop panicking. Stop living in scarcity mindset. There's enough to go around. You don't have to wipe out food stores. You don't have to wipe out gasoline. We're in this together. And this is not a time for greed. There's people trying to sneak onto trails. There's people like, oh my God, how am I going to get through life? Like, if I can't hike. I'm like, I was on the trails almost every day. I mean, the woods is one of my only forms of solace, but you pivot and you figure it out. Trails are closed right now indefinitely. Get over it. It is what it is. I mean, my whole business model is bringing yoga out into nature. And, you pivot, you figure, you just rework shit. You rewire it. It's not that big of a deal. This is not a time for taking. This is a time for giving. It's a time for giving back. We need to be out on the trails when the time comes doing trail maintenance. The funny thing about all of this to me is we live on Native American territory, There's a lot of Cherokee people that we stole this land from, essentially. And Native American principle is you never step foot on land without asking permission. So how dare anybody be pissed off that the Blue Ridge Parkway is closed indefinitely, and DuPont and Pisgah and all these other trail systems? Like, are you kidding me? How about contacting park rangers and friends of DuPont Forest and saying, when are you going to start trail maintenance? Put my name on the list, sign me up, because this is the time to give back. If you are somebody not from this area, we are in dire need of so many supplies. I'm going to link a couple of solid organizations like Operation Airdrop and Samaritan's Purse, who I will be volunteering through in Boone, and they're also in Asheville. Please remember these towns that you're not hearing about. Again, hundreds are stranded, thousands are missing, and one of them is my dear friend Ratchet, who lived in Black Mountain, and his wife was very pregnant with their first child. I cannot get a hold of him. He's not been responsive at all. I posted on his Facebook, nothing, nada. We're not okay. And it's okay to say that. Most of us are not okay. We are, but we aren't. Because we're living with this just alternate reality. And I can't believe it's been 6 days. I can't tell you what it's like, not having internet was almost a blessing in one way, although it was killing me that I could not let my girls know that I was okay. And I wanted to go up to see them, and no one was letting us drive. They were like, there's no way you're driving to New Jersey. And those poor kids, one of the last things I did was give them my address, because that's how prepared for the worst I was. Brevard was at that time one of 4 towns in the red zone. Out of the whole area, we were one of 4 towns in the red zone. how we didn't get harder hit is like a miracle. Honestly, you have no idea how blessed I feel. And I gave my girls my address because I said, you're probably gonna have to do a well check. And when they put my address in the GPS, it said no routes available because bridges wiped out, roadways wiped out. Y'all, I taught yoga today for the first time in Hendersonville, and I went to go down a road and they only have like tiny orange cones. The road just broke off. There's just a huge hole in between. And if your car went in it, your car would be like this. And I was like, oh my God, like if somebody wasn't paying attention, literally you're done for. So it's wild. And that's just nothing in comparison. That's like chump change in comparison to, like I said, the outskirts. I know there's people stuck on Mount Mitchell. Yeah, we are in dire straits right now and we really need help, and help is being turned away. 700 National Guard were just deployed to Kuwait out of Tennessee, our neighboring state, as if we don't need their assistance. So there's something not adding up with all of this. I could go on more about that because I'm pretty confident I know what's happening right now, but I will not make that video about this, but I probably will be more outspoken about that in the future. I'm also going to link an organization that I now work for. I've been very quiet about being hired as a support guide for them. They're a therapeutic adventure company. And we are wilderness based, but we're going to start bringing our services to the street. I work for the most amazing man. I work for the most amazing team. And we really need donations because we are a 501(c). So, and we're doing really important work. So I'm going to cut this off now. You're going to be seeing a lot more mental health based videos, probably more yoga movement based videos and pranayama. I would love for you to stay in touch, but if this is of no interest to you, then you can just drop off the channel until I get back to talking about more relational things and such, but my heart is just not there, and that'll be communicated through the airwaves. I need to be talking about this stuff. I need to be submerged in what's happening around me. And so if you feel like, well, how can I be of any help? Because I live, maybe you're still following me and you live in New Jersey, you can be an enormous amount of help. Even though help physically in person is being turned away, I would not donate to FEMA or Red Cross. I'm not confident that the money is going where it's supposed to be going. And that's all I will say about that. But I will link very viable organizations where 100% of the money is going to where they say that it's going. Thank you so much for being a part of this channel. Thank you so much for listening to this video. If you've listened in, I do appreciate you. And I will be in touch. As always, love you to pieces. Take care.